So when I was at the Mommy Dentist and Business Conference, which was again just an awesome experience, wonderful, wonderful people that were there. One example was brought up in terms of, I've got this house, I've got 400,000 left on the mortgage. It's costing me $3,500 a month. Okay, how much cash do you have in the bank? 400,000. Said, okay. Let's forget about your house for a second. Let's just pretend someone came up to you and said, look, I've got this investment. If you can put $400,000 down, I can guarantee you are going to have an income stream of $42,000 a year for as long as you decide to own the asset. How does that sound? Person's like, that sounds great. Over 10% cash on cash return. Yeah, that sounds pretty solid. That's your house. And the reason why you're not doing it right now is because you have the 400,000, that's your liquidity. But if we got a home equity line of credit on your home, that is now your liquidity. So now you can literally free up the 42,000. It may not feel like I'm earning 3,500 a month, but you are saving 3,500 a month. And that is cash flow. They were like, oh. So the big thing that I want to go through today is it's not the payment. There has to be one more question asked after that in terms of if I were to pay this debt off, if I were to think of it like an investment, what is my cash on cash return? So let's kind of walk through an example so you can understand what I mean. So let's just say that we were able to get a car for $60,000. Okay, this is all in and taxes, things like that, just to make everything easy. And there is the ability to do this payments over 7 years. Now, three people go in. The first one was somehow able to get a 0% interest rate in this environment. Okay, so over 7 years, that would cost them $714.29 per month. And if we multiply that by 12, that would be $8,571.48 per year. Person number two, also solid interest rate, all of that fun stuff, but they got it at still a good interest rate at 2.9% to purchase the car. For them, it would be $790.10 per month. So you can see the $75 a month difference. That's the interest the bank is making. And on a yearly basis, that costs them $94.81.20. The final person, okay credit, debt to income is kind of high, but still solid cash flow. And they get 9.45%. And the reason why I'm using this is just because one of my clients, even after we started working together, got a brand new car. I knew that they got a new car. And it wasn't until a couple months later that I asked them, what's the interest rate? And they said 9.45%. I'm like, you realize you have a line of credit, you have the liquidity available in the line of credit, and your line of credit's at 8.5%. So, number one, instead of having a fixed payment, you can move it into the line of credit and cut the payment down by a third. She's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. The next day, that's what she did. And she'll be able to pay this off in a few months instead of, 5, 6 years. Okay. But in our example here, at 9.45%, that would be $979.10 per month, which on an annual basis is $11,749.20. Now, this is where most people stop. They say, I got the low interest rate, I'm good. You are good. You're better at 0 or 2.9% than at 9.45. I completely agree with that. Okay. But if you had the $60,000 in the bank, can you now look at this in terms of what's known as a cash on cash return? And what I mean by that is you take the overall payment that you have on a yearly basis, divide it by what the cost would be if I could pay for it in cash, and that's essentially a return. It's a return on what you would have saved, but it's still a return. So 8571.48 divided by the 60,000, that would equal 14.3% return, meaning that I now have the choice. If I've got $60,000 that I quote unquote want to invest, do I actually put it in an investment and can I earn more than 14% a year on this investment versus taking that 60,000, paying off the car in cash, and now I just saved myself $714 a month for as long as I own the car, for as long as I own the asset. Yes, I know it's a depreciating asset. Everyone can argue with me with that, but it is a 14% cash on cash return. And that's really where we need to judge. So if we were going to continue this at the I got a 2.9% interest rate. That's great. But if we divide this by 60,000, can I find an investment that's going to earn me more than 15.8% a year? If I don't feel confident on that, this is a guaranteed after-tax return of 15.8%. And on the 9.45%, when we divide that by 60,000, this is a 19.58% cash on cash return. Now, again, I know everyone does not have $60,000 sitting around, but if you do, this is how I think. This is that next level question pass. I just got the awesome interest rate and here's the payment. Great. Now let's compare what your payment is compared to using that money to invest somewhere else. And so this is the lesson for today. If you want to understand this more, see what your results could possibly be, type the word results in the comments below. See you next week.